Hey everyone, it is April 2nd. Today we are reviewing chapter 32 as the second chapter for our lecture today, and this is going to be our last lecture before our quiz on April 3rd, Friday. Again, that particular quiz is going to cover chapters 29 through 32. It's going to be 10 questions, all short answer. You will be allowed to use your notes. However, you're not going to be able to simply copy and paste your answers. Your answers are going to ask you to either explain or elaborate in your own words. And you are going to have a time limit. Your time limit is going to be 60 minutes. So please make sure that you study and prepare wisely. You are not going to have the luxury of being able to go back and listen to all of these lectures and complete that quiz in that time limit. So study, use your time wisely. Let's move on. This is our last chapter we need to do before the quiz. Chapter 32, political ecologies. Key terms. We are going to do political economy again, production, consumption, again, words that you've already had by now, technologies you've already had by now. The last three should be new terms for us. So ethics, dualistic, and ecology. We're going to get into what those mean. They should be in your lecture notes, but you'll also need to kind of look up these definitions yourselves. Reminding you guys again one more time, when you're doing your definitions of your key terms, please make sure that when you're doing your Google searches for the definitions of these key terms, you put in there that you're looking for a media studies relevant definition. Okay, so whether you say media studies production or production in media studies when you do your Google search, just make sure that your definition applies to media and it's not just definition of ethics. Okay, so discussion questions. After the lecture, you should be able to answer the questions. 1, how might we go about assessing the ethics of using technologies which have individual and social benefits, but often hidden social and environmental cost? Question 2, what kinds of positive contributions could you make to some of the issues surrounding political ecologies of media? And then question 3, what political ecologies does the adaptations of your choosing address? This is taking you guys back to your Unit 3 production and structure projects for question 3 there. So, into the notes. Political ecology, I'm sorry, not economy, that should say political ecology. I'll change that. Political ecology is the study of relationships between political, economic, and social factors with environmental issues and changes. So when we talk about media, how does media, in terms of political and economic media and social, those factors, and how do they change the environment that we live in? Okay. The world we live in today, you know, what happens to us day in and day out in our lives, the media has a real big role to play in that. So we're going to discuss that today. The production of media and the political issues which arise from the media to be limited to the ways in which meanings are generated by the text neglects what could be considered a range of ethical and political issues. So when somebody puts something out on media, so let's say a social media platform, consider the range of ethical and political issues that arise, whether it be somebody's post about a political opinion, maybe it's a meme that goes out on the internet and becomes viral and starts trending. What are the ethical and political ramifications of that meme? You see them often, unfortunately, there. It'll be a meme and a particular individual in the meme will be made to look unflattering in some way, and the wording or the text associated with the meme will in some way, shape, or form be insulting to another person. What's the ethical and political ramifications of a meme such as that? You know, where does the line get crossed between, oh, this was a joke versus this was really insensitive content and it shouldn't have been out in the open on such a wide platform? So, considering issues such as that, which arise from design, production, and sustainability of hardware systems, has traditionally been considered outside the bounds of media studies. As a discipline, early approaches to media and ecology explicitly stated their goal, according to Postman, were these two following things: So before we get into the goals according to Postman, I want to go back and touch on that. Those issues, those ethical and social and environmental issues that arise from media and media text originally weren't in the boundaries and the scope of media studies. Media studies didn't want to have to address all of those different things too. It wasn't until recently that we realized in media studies, like, hey, you got to talk about this stuff too, because it is a part of media. So Postman said, here's what our goals are. One, to make people more conscious of the fact that we live in two different environments. One is our physical environment, the physical spaces, our homes, our schools, our jobs, our social environments, the restaurants we go out to eat. Those are our physical environments. But then also our media environments, our emails, our social media platforms, our chat rooms, our Zoom meetings right now. Your media environment is the second environment. And according to Postman, this is what we call dualistic. And dualistic thinking says that there are opposing positions: nature and culture, discourse, materiality, sciences versus humanities, and the arts. That's what that duality of a situation means. There are two opposing viewpoints, there's two sides to every coin, to every argument. And according to Postman, there are two environments that we live in that we have to consider our media texts have an influence in. Media texts don't stop at having effects on the media environments. They impact our physical environments too. But in contrast to Postman's approach, there's also a contemporary drive that says instead of these two environments being entirely different, they're actually interconnected, like nature and technology. One's not fully developed without the other. Or, technology and expression, or science and art, that there are give and takes in both of those systems on both sides of that coin that relate to the other. There are parts of science that you got to understand a little bit of art about. Or there's pieces in art that just don't make sense unless you understand that one aspect of the science behind it. And so you've got Postman's approach, physical environment to the media environment, and then the contemporary approach, which says that they are interconnected. Now, political ecology has the goal then to break down those barriers between nature, culture, between technology expression, between science and art, or between the physical and the media environments, demonstrating that through detailed analysis in which human relations and politically conditioned activities affect and impact upon the environment. So basically what that means is that political ecology has the job of breaking it down for humans to see and understand in media studies that the physical environment and the media environment are being impacted. Regardless of which way you look at it, whether it be dualistic or the contemporary approach of the interconnectedness, our media texts that we produce impact our environment. They have ramifications, and those ramifications have to be understood. Unlike the approach by Neil Postman, a political ecology of media doesn't seek to separate those media systems. It seeks to explore the multiplicity of ways in which the media condition of our perceptions and what nature is, by exploring how media production and consumption produces material impacts on ecosystems and social systems. So again, this political ecology of media is seeking to answer the question, what are the ramifications of our media text? Whatever your media text may be, whether it's a book, a movie, a social media post, a song, a music video, a meme on the internet, whatever it is, that media text has an impact on our ecosystem and on our social system, the world we live in, the very physical environment that we have made up around us, and our social system and our interactions day to day with other people in society. And that's political ecology. So when we go to our questions, how might we go about assessing the ethics of using technologies which have benefits but also cost? So at what point do social and individual benefits outweigh social and environmental costs? How far are we willing to let our society, our social systems, and our environmental and ecological systems suffer for the benefit of individuals, for the benefit of a social group? Okay, this is real big when we talk modern day about climate change. There are individual and social benefits to ignoring the problem. A lot of this is with political parties. But there are social and environmental costs, environments breaking down, entire ecosystems failing and collapsing. How do we assess that ethically? Where do we say enough is enough and kind of adjust that teeter totter seesaw back in the other direction? Question 2. What kinds of positive contributions could you make to some of the issues surrounding political ecologies of media? Think back of yourself and think of yourself as a producer in media, a producer of media text. What could you be doing? What should you be doing in terms of your media text that you produce that could better the environment of political ecology? And then question 3. What political ecologies does your adaptations address? Think about your adaptation. Let's talk about The Lion King for a minute. What political ecology does the adaptation Lion King address? We've talked about social environment a little bit with this. We've talked about femininity and gender roles. And then our natural environment, this was big when the Lion King live action adaptation came out. Look at how realistic that film looks. We talked when we were viewing it about how it looks kind of like a National Geographic special. And if you look at it from that standpoint and you look at that film and you see the animals and you see the physical environment, look at how much attention gets drawn to that because of the choice to make that film live action at the time. So I want you to do the same thing with yours. What kind of ecologies does your adaptation address? Is it physical environment or is it your social environment? Answer that for me, and we will move on to chapter 33 on Monday. Make sure that you prepare for your quiz tomorrow.